Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your patience as we waited to get a few more attendees in. Welcome to today's webinar on the Corning OLEDWorks Lighting Without a Bulb contest. My name is Casey Shapiro, and I will be your host and moderator for this webinar. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be transcribed for viewing on the contest website at a later date. At this time, we're going to briefly go through the agenda. First, we're going to provide the speaker introductions, then we'll provide an overview of the contest. After that, we'll present the frequently asked questions of the contest and then work through the live audience Q&A. To participate in that live Q&A, please submit your questions at any time through the Q&A chat box. We will collect and present these questions during the live Q&A section. If we do not get to answer your question live, please note that we will be transcribing and answering all questions asked during the session and then posting them on the contest forum for reviewing at a later date. Finally, we'll wrap up with some information on what you can do today for the contest, including where to register, how to stay connected, and how to submit your proposal. Now, I am pleased to welcome the following speakers to our webinar this morning. From Corning Incorporated, we have Deepak Chowdhury, PhD, Division Vice President and Program Director, OLED Lighting, and Mark Taylor, PhD, Technical SME and Project Manager, OLED Lighting. From OLEDWorks, we have Gianna Phelan, Director of Business Development, and then from 9 Sigma, we have Kevin Andrews, PhD, Senior Program Manager. Now we'll hear from Deepak with an overview of the contest. Deepak, you're ready to go.
Hi, good morning and welcome. What I wanted to do here quickly is go through a brief introduction of Corning Incorporated, who's jointly sponsoring this event or competition. It's founded in 1851, so 160 plus years old company. It's headquartered in beautiful Valley of Corning, New York, in upstate. Worldwide employee about 35,000. In 2015, sales is about $9.8 billion. We rank about 297 in the Fortune 500. In short, the Corning's expertise is in glass, ceramics, and optical physics. And with those expertise, we've been, over the years, innovated things like process for making optical light bulb, television tube, optical fiber for communication, ceramic filters for automotive remediation. So with that, I'm going to show you the key businesses and who is sponsoring this program. So in the market, Corning has about 5 distinct segments. One is a display technology, which makes the ultra flat glass for making the displays that you have either on your phone or in your TV or in your monitors. Optical communication is the business where we make all the products needed, including optical fiber, for establishing optical communication channels from one place to another, and installations in-house and in industry. The third segment is the environmental technology segment, which is basically making ceramic-based catalytic converters and diesel particulate filters. So if you're driving a car, most likely you have one of these parts made by environmental technology in Corning in the U.S. Life sciences is a business where we make vessels and tools for working in the life sciences area. And finally, specialty materials, which is the home of Gorilla Glass, which you might know because most of your handheld devices, tablets and phones have a piece of this Gorilla Glass that's provided by the Specialty Material Division. Finally, there is a business segment that is for new business development, and OLED Lighting resides in that other products and services category, who's sponsoring this contest along with OLEDWorks. So a brief overview of this competition. So lighting has undergone a revolution with LED over the last 7 to 8 years. Lighting is becoming more than just providing functional light. It is now people are concerned about aesthetics and design. There is a huge effort in integrating lighting control within the building control system, so it is all integrated and much more efficient. And in addition to that, there is discussions and prototypes of communication integrations with lighting, because lighting is already distributed in the building, and if you want a distributed communication and sensor system, this is a perfect way of doing it. Now, OLED, on the other hand, is redefining lighting because it is a very high quality, glare-free and diffused lighting system. It's cool to touch, it's thin and light, and it is a surface lighting as opposed to point light source that LED is. And with OLED, the promise of the future is that you can actually get a conformable surface lighting that will add to the use function and also the aesthetics part of it. Now, as I said earlier, the competition is jointly sponsored by Corning and OLEDWorks, and you'll hear from Gianna in a bit more about OLEDWorks and some of their products that are going to be used in the competition. The contest invites designers for luminaires and other lighting applications, including applications in architecture, building materials, and furniture. The designs may target a variety of segments of applications, including, but not limited to, hospitality, retail, transportation, commercial, and residential. One of the things I do want to highlight here is for this competition, we are not going to accept any design that's only a desk lamp, because we believe that there is a lot of example of that for using OLED panels in the market, and we wanted to do something that is new and different. So with that, I will pass over to Gianna, who's going to talk a little bit more about the panels.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. I'm going to shift the focus to a little bit about the OLED technology. The first question that usually comes up with OLED is, how is it different from LED? So LED is a point source, you know, tiny little chip that puts out just an amazing amount of lumens. OLED, on the other hand, is also a light-emitting diode. It's also a solid-state lighting technology. It's also compatible with the standard dimming and control systems that LED uses. However, it is a very thin product in a large area array, and it's made of very thin carbon-based layers. So if you look at the diagram on the bottom, you'll see that the total lighting panel is about 1.2 millimeters thick. It can be thinner, will be thinner in the future, but 1.2 millimeters is really dominated by the substrate, the glass. The OLED itself is very thin layers of carbon-based materials that are about as thick as a human hair. And on top of that, that little blue color there is really a protective coating over the OLED. You can see the OLED is very, very thin itself, which really in the future will create more opportunities for thin and flex. Designers are encouraged to break the paradigm of traditional lighting because this is very different. It doesn't need shades, doesn't need diffusers or reflectors. You don't have to move the light from a point source to an area source. It is an area source. And OLED lighting can be a direct view experience, which is also very different from the standard technology. In addition, OLEDs are a very broad spectrum source, so very much like daylight when you look at the spectrum versus the sky at noon or any time during the day. So if you look at lighting an LED point source, you'll see that there's lots and lots of components because you have to take that little chip and move the light to where you want it. There's heat management. LED chips are very, very hot. So there's components for managing heat, managing optics, different types of optics to get the LED to actually go through a phosphor conversion, which you don't need for OLED, and optics in order to get the light to where you want it. It could be light, an optic such as shown here for a ball, but it could also be optics that are thin sheets of waveguides that try to make an LED into a planar source, which it does not do naturally. On the other hand, if you look at the OLED area source, you can see from that picture that it just blurs the line between the light engine and the fixture itself. It does provide a very uniform, beautiful light quality, And it's really up to the designers to be able to take that and say how they're going to deploy that in an interesting way that doesn't require diffusers and reflectors and heat sinks. So OLEDWorks, what we do is we make OLED lighting engines. And this slide here shows basically a summary of our products. It ranges from panels that are just the bare panel, 1.2 millimeters thick. Some different integration levels, mounting plates and cables and that sort of thing are available. All the details are available on OLEDWorks.com. All the way up to a module which has a built-in driver which dims to 25% for easy plug-and-play, replaceable, sort of a different mode of design altogether. The panels in particular, we go back to that. It's featuring two different shapes, a square and a rectangle, both of which put out an industry best 300 lumens, a very functional, beautiful quality of light. This efficiency is now above 60 lumens per watt, and the color temperatures are now available at 3,000 and 4,000 Kelvin, so that's another design element you can consider as you move forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Deepak and Gianna, for those explanations. Now we're going to turn it over to Kevin from 9 Sigma, who will talk about the evaluation criteria, submission information, and timeline for this contest. Kevin?
Okay, so regarding your design, there are 5 key criteria, the first being design uniqueness. The design should highlight the thin form factor, low weight illumination element, the cool-to-touch surface, and the high light quality of the OLED module. The design should be something that cannot readily be executed with conventional or LED light sources. Regarding the second criteria, it's related to prospective marketability and practicality. So the design should be saleable through channels familiar to the market segment. Materials and assembly costs should be consistent with the pricing of products with similar utility in that target market segment. The third criteria relates to aesthetics, regarding the selection of authentic materials that complement the lighting experience, seamless integration of wiring and power supply. The fourth criteria is related to how your design enhances the user experience. And finally, the last key criteria is related to the path to fabrication. What materials are required and what steps are required to complete an assembly. So, what do you need to present in your submission? Your submission will be via the online response form, and it should include the following: renderings, which illustrate the design concept, and those can be either PDF documents or JPEGs. A description of your proposed design that also explains how you meet the design evaluation criteria. Next, a description of what would be necessary to fabricate a prototype. And a description about you or your team, if you're a team submitter, and related experience. Optionally, you may include a private link to a short video presentation to augment your response defined above. So the timing for the contest. The contest launched on April 8th, 2016. The deadline is June 30th, 2016 at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And the winners will be announced in October of 2016.
Great, thank you, Kevin. So why should solution providers be interested?
So the key item of interest is that up to 5 winners will be awarded cash prizes of US $10,000 each. Regarding possible follow-up, there could be a phase 2 where respondents may be asked to fabricate a prototype using sponsor-supplied components. This phase and its funding would be negotiated. This is not to say that phase 2 will definitely happen. It's a high possibility.
Great. So now we're going to move into the contest FAQs. These are questions that have been fielded from inquiries into the 9 Sigma Provider Help Desk and also on contest site forum. Some of these might actually answer some of the questions that are coming in now, but please continue to submit those questions into that Q&A chat box. We will go ahead and answer those live as soon as we are done with this section. So the first question we have on the contest FAQ is, I see modules listed on the OLEDWorks website that are not mentioned in the contest summary. For example, Bright 2. Can I use this module in my design?
The answer is yes. You can use any OLEDWorks module that's currently listed on the OLEDWorks website.
Great. So what is the judging process and who are the judges?
The judging process is based on criteria included in the contest announcement that we just highlighted a few slides ago. All criteria are being weighed equally. Panel of judges will be folks with commercial, design, and technical background, and they will evaluate proposals based on the criteria and rank the proposals. Final decision will be made based on those rankings.
And finally, who is eligible to compete?
The contest is open to the public. Students, emerging professional designers, and professionals working at design studios and luminaire companies are invited to participate. Employees of Corning and OLEDWorks are not eligible. Please review the contest terms and conditions for more details.
At this time, we're going to open up the session to any questions that we have from the audience. We've already received a few coming in throughout the duration of the webinar so far, so please continue to submit those questions. Again, we'll take the rest of this time to answer them live. If we don't get to your question, don't worry. As I explained at the beginning, it is being archived and recorded, and all of the questions and answers will be made available on the contest site following the webinar. So here's a slide just to remind you who's going to be answering your questions. So let's go ahead and move into the live questions now. So the first one we have is, what is the lifetime L70?
Oh, that would be me. Yeah. So all the lifetime and performance data is available on the website, but the L70 will depend on your brightness and what product you're using. At maximum brightness, you'll be at 10,000 hours. At industry standard brightness, which is about 115 lumens, which is what the competition would do, it's 50,000 hours.
Great. What is the lumen degradation over time? I'll leave this right back to you, Gianna.
Yeah, that's basically the same question. So basically, it's the same answer. Over at 50,000 hours, your lumens would degrade down to 70%.
So this may be similar. We just want to make sure we cover all of our bases, but what is the color degradation over time?
So the color shift is very minimal. We've measured that through a number of accelerated testings, and the color shift is really not noticeable to the human eye. The exact numbers for that you'd like to see for Bright 1 are in the Design In Guide, which is available online.
Great. So this one is for Deepak. What rights do Corning and OLEDWorks have to the submitted materials?
So if you look at the actual legal document for the contest, you will see that Corning retains the right to use the materials you submitted for communication of the contest, which includes the images and the text that you submit. And for the winners, Corning has the right to use those images and text for other communication purposes, and the winners are also obligated to, within a year period of the announcement of the award, they're obligated to discuss with Corning should Corning wants to proceed with the next phase, the phase 2 discussions leading to any kind of a commercial product. I do want to highlight one thing, though, is the intellectual property rights for the designs and the materials that you submit belongs to the creator.
So who owns the IP and copyright? And that's again back to you, Deepak.
Yes, the IP is owned by the submitter or the group of submitters that are doing, and it is their responsibility to protect the IP through applications and the legal process they need. As I said, Corning only owns the right for the images and the text that are submitted for communications of these contest purposes for everybody who submits, and for the winners we'll have additional rights of using those images and text for our internal communication and external communication, but not to the designs.
Great. So I'm just going to keep this with Deepak really quickly. Are international students eligible?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Going back to Gianna, is the substrate flexible?
So the product that's available now for this contest, the answer is no. It's on a rigid substrate, and that is all that will be included in this particular design competition.
Great. So I believe this was just answered, but just want to make sure, but can the modules be post-formed into a curve?
No, it's the same answer. Thanks, Casey.
So how much do the panels cost?
So if you go online, you'll see in our web shop that the panels start at about $70 per panel for the sample sizes. So if you want a couple to work on for a design and R&D work, it'll be $70 per panel. However, depending on your volumes, there are definitely price breaks available for volume purchasing, and we have price structures for when a customer transitions to high volume production, and that should be discussed directly with OLEDWorks.
So what will phase 2 of the contest look like if we do, in fact, have a phase 2 to this?
This is Kevin. Phase 2 will be discussed between the winners and Corning and OLEDWorks, and will be guided by the quality of submissions.
Can confidential designs be submitted?
Short answer, no.
Can the same design be submitted to more than just this competition?
No.
Do I have to make a prototype?
No, you do not have to make a prototype, but the practicality of manufacturing and production is part of the judging criteria, as well as clarity in the assembly of parts.
Great. Can designs be custom pieces, or should they be designed for manufacturing?
They ultimately should be considered to be designed for manufacturing.
Great. So just fielding a quick question right now. It just came in. Wait 1 second. Are multiple entries allowed?
I believe
yes.
The answer is yes.
What is Corning's role relative to OLED?
So Corning and OLEDWorks has a joint development agreement to develop a panel in the future. Corning is the provider of the substrate for the OLED lighting panels, and OLEDWorks is the one who's using that who's going to use that substrate to make the OLED panels. So, in summary, the relationship, the commercial relationship between Corning and OLEDWorks is Corning is the provider of the substrate, OLEDWorks is the manufacturer of the panel.
So just as a follow-up to that, I think that it will be a nice way to say it, but why are Corning and OLEDWorks working together on this?
The primary reason is OLEDWorks is one of the premier companies, actually the only company in the U.S. who is working on OLED lighting. And they happen to be the number 2 in the industry today. Corning, on the other hand, is located about an hour and a half from OLEDWorks. So the availability of the complementary technology between Corning and OLEDWorks and the proximity, geographic proximity. Those are the 2 key drivers for us to be working together.
Yeah, Casey, I'd like to add to that. I think that what we see is that working jointly, we're well positioned to merge our technologies that take advantage of OLED's unique properties, and in particular in the future, thinner and getting into the bendable space. But the most important thing is working with the Corning materials, we can do high-performance OLEDs without compromised performance, and being able to do 300 lumens on a thin substrate is really remarkable.
Great. Which are the, and let me see if I can phrase this, which are the limit of the, quote, designs must be manufacturable with real-world processes, unquote? How far can we push this boundary?
So, as stated, and this is a little open-ended, and the intent here is that we don't want, I will just say it in a way that probably will make a little bit more sense, which is we don't want a one-off showpiece designed that is actually displayed and valued as a showpiece. What we would like to see happen is products that are designed with intent that they will be manufactured in volume. That's really what it all that boils down to. And the second thing on that comment is materials that are used in making these designs happen should also be within the bounds of the cost structure of each of the application space. For example, if you are designing for home appliances, it cannot cost 5 times more than the appliance itself. Okay, those are the general guidelines. I don't think there is a very specific. I don't think we can get more specific than that at this point.
Great. So this is back to Gianna. Do all designs have to be square or rectangular only?
Oh, well, the panels are square, rectangular. What the designer does with those certainly can put them together in a fashion that isn't square or rectangular, and we do see that in other designs, and we encourage people to think about it beyond the starting square and rectangular format.
And if I can add one thing to this, I think from the design perspective, just to understand what can be done, I think OLEDWorks website has this 3 magazine in PDF format that are published. That has a lot of actually designs done by professional designers using those panels, and I would encourage people to take a look at that just to get some ideas about what we're talking about.
Great. So in the same vein, can the material be cut anywhere or be scored to be bent?
The answer to that is no. That would ruin the device.
And I'm assuming this is the same answer, but just to ask it for clarity, can they be heat formed?
That is not encouraged.
Okay, perfect. So I think this is again back to Gianna. Are there drivers available?
Yes, there are drivers available on the website under the product information. There is a link to drivers that are compatible with our OLEDs. They are provided by Philips. There are other drivers that are available if people keep looking beyond that as well. However, to get a design done quickly, I encourage you to look at the drivers that are available through us.
Okay, so since an OLED panel is extremely thin, is it possible to bend it to get a curve?
No, it is rigid glass. If you bend rigid glass, it will break. So we don't encourage that.
Great. So we have you are interested in designs intended for volume manufacturing. What drop in price do you expect in 2 years, and then again in 5 years?
So we won't discuss that in detail here, but you can take a look at the Department of Energy. They published a roadmap for OLED and LED as well, and they have a forecast for what the cost should be, and we are tracking that aggressively, and we use that as our guideline.
How much, Gianna, do each of the panels cost?
Oh, so I think we covered that already. That would be $70 for if you want onesie-twosies for development work, and to go into high volume, we would discuss directly with the company or the inventor what the price breaks would be.
Okay. How many designs can someone submit?
I think we don't have any limit on number of designs submitted, but all the submissions will be treated as individual, and they need to conform to the rules.
Right, and I would encourage the designers to understand, do some self-filtering, because there are quite a bit of criteria they have to meet in terms of the inventiveness and the ability to manufacture, et cetera. So I'm sure that if they look at that themselves, they won't put in 100 designs each.
Okay. This is a very specific. Are the FL300 bright pieces manufactured by Philips similar to what is being manufactured now? A possible submitter has an FL300 sample and was wondering if the glass substrate was made by Corning.
I don't think that kind of detail we can answer here.
Sure. Perfect. So we have, I think, come to the end of our live questions at this point, unless anybody has any additional ones coming in. We are a little bit early. Thank you to the efficiency of everybody answering the questions. If you have some further questions to submit, please do so at this time. We have a little bit of follow-up information, and if we have the ability to get back to them after I present that information, we will go ahead and answer them live. If we do get through everything and you do still have a question, you can always submit it through the forum on the challenge website. And also, if anything comes through while we're talking, we're unable to address it live throughout the webinar, it will, as we said before, be transcribed and then also can be answered at a later date through the answers that we post to the forum. So let's go ahead and bring this webinar to a conclusion. As I stated, we are at the end of our webinar this morning. For any additional information, as I've stated multiple times, we encourage you to visit that contest site, which is displayed here on this slide. We wish to encourage you to register so that you can stay connected and then participate in that contest forum. We want to note again that the deadline for submissions is June 30th, 2016 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. One last reminder that this webinar has been recorded and will be made available on the contest site along with that Q&A transcript. And we want to go ahead and thank everybody for attending and thank our speakers for their time and expertise. Before I completely finish, we have 2 more additional questions. We want to make sure we can get through those live since we do have a little bit of time. So can we submit designs as a team or only as individuals?
So the submission process requires that a group or an individual can submit, but for a group submission, you still need to have an individual assigned for all the communication that comes later.
Perfect. And I think this is another technical question back to Gianna. What support is needed for each panel?
I'm not sure exactly what the question is aimed at, if it's mechanical support or other support, so I will try to address it a little comprehensively. The panels themselves do not need a lot of support in general. There are different ways to mount them. People hold them by the corners and suspend them, so depending on what you want to do with the panels, they really don't need a ton of support. They don't need a heat sink or anything like that. In terms of electronic support, they do need a driver with 24-volt DC input. That's all on the website. And I think that probably covers the major support questions.
Perfect. So I do believe we are actually at the end of our questions at this point. So again, thank you to, never mind, one more. We do have time, so I want to keep making sure that we can get these, actually 2 more. Thank you so much for everybody submitting your questions as they come in. We do have the time, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that we answer them live if possible. So can these be run by battery and or no holes? I'm not 100% sure. I was just sort of reading as it was typed in.
So yes, it can be run by a battery, but you need to look carefully at the power demands for that and how long you want to run it for. So that is something to look at, but you should make sure you do your engineering work to make sure you have the right power supply for it.
So the follow-up question that this person posed, I believe what they're asking is it possible to put a hole in the OLED module?
No, that's the same response to the question about can you cut it or score it. You can also don't puncture it.
Right.
Great. Can they be embedded into materials?
So I'm not 100% sure what they mean by that, but certainly we've seen OLEDs that have been with fixtures that are wood, different materials. You can use fabric, certainly metals, plastics. Because they don't generate a ton of heat, they're compatible with quite a few types of materials. In terms of actually embedded, that would be a fixture manufacturing question that they should include in their submission.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to that. I mean, the way to look at it is that's a square or rectangular piece of glass, and it needs to be mounted or placed. Like Gianna, I'm not sure I fully understand what embedding means because it could mean a lot of different things. But it can be mounted on any of the surfaces, and you obviously have to have the top surface transparent because you want the light out. Other than that, I don't know of any other restrictions.
Great. And then I think we have one final question that came in while we were answering these, but can designers get a technical drawing of each panel in CAD or PDF form?
So the drawings are available on the OLEDWorks website under the download section as PDFs, so they are available already. The module data sheet will be upgraded and posted by tomorrow with additional information on the PDF drawing as well. So I think should be available for you right now.
Great. So again, another question. Will they be available in smaller pieces now and or when they're released?
Different sizes are always being looked at, but for this competition, we need to stay on the current product dimensions.
Okay. Are there any photos of the items to use in addition to those technical drawings?
Well, certainly there's photos available on our website, and I guess through this particular competition, pictures on the website there as well.
Perfect. Okay, so I believe that we're actually going to wrap up at this point. Thank you, everybody, for continuing to submit those questions. And again, I want to thank everybody for attending and thank our speakers for their time and expertise. We appreciate everybody attending today and look to the website to get the transcription and the recording of this and to submit any additional follow-up questions that you might have. Just a final reminder that the submission date is June 30th, 2016 at 5